Let us travel back in time for a moment. It's July 23rd, 1962, and you and tens of millions of other people around the world gather around their TV sets, turn their dial to CBS or NBC, and tune in to the first live news broadcast, a transatlantic broadcast that's currently reaching an audience throughout North America and Europe. Europeans were watching the Phillies play the Cubs, and for many of them, it was the first time they'd ever seen baseball in their lives. Meanwhile, in North America, they were watching live video feed of Big Ben and the Eiffel Tower and other European landmarks that many of us have only dreamt of going to. I believe that this innovation, broadcast journalism, helped to bring the world together by showing us that just because something isn't affecting us, that does not mean it's not affecting someone just like us in a different place. This year in ISM, I aim to meet with as many people as possible so that way I'd be able to pick the best mentor possible. I believe it's safe to say that I reached my goal in interviewing as many people as possible, as I had 8 informational interviews this year. My first one was with Jack Fink, and he's the political reporter for CBS 11. In this interview, he emphasized the importance of teamwork. Working in broadcast journalism, you'll have a deadline every single day, and if you don't meet that deadline, you may end up out of a job. So it's very important that you are good at building relationships with your coworkers, so that way when you do need them to assist you in a task, they are willing and able to do so. My next interview was with Stephen Howard, and he is the current news analyst for ESPN and former NBA player for the New Orleans Pelicans. He emphasized the importance of persistence. He said that he wasn't a big known player, and he also played overseas. He wasn't Charles Barkley or Shaquille O'Neal, someone that we all know. So he said that he got turned down quite often because he didn't have the look or the name that they wanted. He said that it had been very easy for him to just give up and let it go and then retire in the comfortable status that he was as a former NBA player. But he decided to be resilient and keep pushing further and further until he got the career that he wanted. My following interview is with Dave Evans, and he's the coordinating producer for Fox Sports Southwest. He emphasized the importance of internships, and he said don't just get an internship because you think you should or think that it will look good on a college resume or an application. He said get one and realize that you only get out of anything as much effort as you put into it. And that rings true for not only a job or an internship, but for anything that we do in life. He said that he hires the reporters and the interns that work at Fox Sports, and he said that the ones that stand out to him the most are the ones that go above and beyond what is expected of them. My fourth interview is with Christopher James, and he's the sports editor and producer for NBC. He emphasized the importance of basically pushing your pride aside and being willing to start at the bottom, so to speak, and work your way up to the career that you really want. He said that he started off as a cameraman, working odd hours and late nights, and he said that he just had to keep pushing, keep working harder to be the sports editor and producer that he is today. My fifth interview is with Jennifer Lindgren. She's the reporter and fill-in anchor for CBS. She told me that all you really need to be a good reporter is passion and an open mind. She said a lot of people have this misconceived notion that in order to be a good journalist, you have to be extremely extroverted and very outgoing. But she said that she is more of an introvert, so to speak, and she knows a lot of other reporters that are as well. And she said that, like I said, all you need to be a good reporter is an open mind, and you have to love what you do. After that, I interviewed Charlotte Huffman. She's an investigative reporter with Channel 8, and I'm just going to read a quote by her that explains why I was interested in investigative journalism and why she chose it as a career. She said, every day I have the opportunity to give a voice to the voiceless and shine a light in areas that, quite frankly, some probably prefer to be kept in the dark, and that's why I love my job. I think that sums up the importance of broadcast journalism and investigative reporting as a whole, because it shows that you're going to have to keep asking questions to get the answers that you need in order to create a good story, because in investigative reporting, the many people that you are investigating aren't really willing to talk to you about what they've been doing because they're trying to keep it a secret, of course. My next interview is with David Schechter, and he is a senior reporter for WFAA. And a common theme throughout all of my interviews this year have been finding a balance between personal life and job obligations. We all know that broadcast journalism can be very unpredictable, and He said that many times he misses out on family dinners and his kids' games or recitals. But he said that if you love what you do and you know how to make time and manage your time well, then you'll be a successful reporter and you'll have the ability to do a little bit of both. My last interview was with Cynthia Izagiri, and she's the co-anchor of Channel 8, and she does the 5, 6, and 10 o'clock news. She emphasized to me the importance of following the golden rule in all aspects of life, but including broadcast journalism as well. She says that she's been in many situations where she has to interview someone regarding a very sensitive topic, and she realized very quickly that you need to respect them in the way that you would want to be respected if that was you in their shoes. And you couldn't believe my excitement when I realized that she would agree to be my mentor for this year, because I have been watching her on TV for many years now, and when I went to go meet her, I was honestly starstruck. It was like meeting a celebrity, so when she agreed, I was over the moon. On to my research. My first research assessment was regarding the career outlook and the requirements to be a part of broadcast journalism. I found off the bat that there's a 9% decline in the industry. And after I realized that, I figured that it'd be worthwhile to understand the new innovations and improvements that are being made to the field currently, so that way if I do decide to join, and I hope to do so, that I'll know how to navigate my way through it. That is when I stumbled upon the term media literacy, media ethics, and layered journalism. Media literacy is simply the critique and analysis of the impact of the media on society. It's making sure that reporters know that the news is used to tell y'all what you should find important. Its primary focus is just giving out information and making sure that you are all kept up to date and that you know what's going on in the world. Media ethics is another very important concept to understand. It's simply making sure that you treat others the way you want to be treated. Like when I was on my interview with Cynthia Izagiri, she told me about how she learned media ethics very quickly, and she realized that if she hadn't, she wouldn't be as successful as she is today. Finally, I learned about layered journalism, and recently the rise of social media has combined an online platform with the traditional TV network. Reporters are required to learn how to use social media and to implement it on a day-to-day basis in order to get their stories out. Initially, it was used as a more effective way of gathering information and just giving it out much faster. But now there comes a time where you have to fact check everything you receive off of social media, because it's very easy for someone to just create a fake news story and publish it online for everyone to read. And as a reporter, you can't go around giving out unfactual information. And it's very important that you do fact check and make sure that you are using layered journalism as more of a tool and not a hindrance. My original work project for this year was focused on gathering primary research for my final project. I decided that I wanted to make a documentary about the effects of aging out of foster care. I came up with this idea while I was at the grocery store with my father. He loves to make small talk with all of the people that he meets and likes to ask them questions about their lives. And when he asked the lady who was behind the cash register about her life and her family, she replied by saying that she didn't have one. And that really stuck out to me, and it's stayed with me ever since then. So I figured that I would take my time in ISM to find a solution for this problem of aging out of foster care and make a documentary to show the effects that it has had on the people involved. My first step in this project was basically gathering statistics and notes about foster care and the effects that it's had on the people involved. And I read many articles about some incidents in Dallas of children who've been in foster care and who've been abused and neglected and left there to basically fend for themselves. My overall project was an interview with a 19-year-old girl who aged out of foster care about a year ago. And when I found that out, she told me about all her time spent in foster care and everything that she went through while she was in the system, how she got separated from her younger brother. She hasn't seen him in about 7 years now, and how aging out has really forced her to mature a lot more quickly than she had anticipated. And I think that my documentary will be a great way not only to raise awareness for the situation, but to possibly help other people to get their voice out and to tell their stories. When I met with my mentor, Cynthia Izagari, she told me about the Wednesday Child program that she does every Wednesday. She is currently doing a story about foster care, and she's interviewing children who've aged out, and she said that I would be able to shadow her and go on interviews with her to see what it's like to interview those children and to get a little taste of their stories. I'm very excited to create my documentary and to display it on final presentation night. I think that it'll be a great way not only to raise awareness, but to give a lot of people a voice when they have been silent for so long. So far, my mentorship experience is limited to the first initial interview that I've had so far. It was great. I learned a lot just in those 30, 45 minutes that I was there, and I also expanded my network in that one day with her. I met a lot of people in Channel 8, and I met a lot of the reporters and editors, web developers, and other co-anchors of hers that have helped with the Channel 8 network. And I think that so far it's been very great, and I've also been introduced to some very incredible opportunities to shadow her and to watch her do the news and to go on some exclusive interviews with her here very soon. I was also very excited to see that we have a lot of common interests, foster care being one of them, as she is currently doing a project on it, like I said. She was always very nice from the very beginning, and I'm really excited to see how my mentorship goes throughout this year. I'm very excited to share my passion for broadcast journalism with all of you, and I used this quote to define my year in ISM this year. It says, "You have to leave the city of your comfort and go into the wilderness of your intuition. What you discover will be wonderful, and what you discover will be yourself." I chose this quote not only to define my journey throughout ISM, but to be a reminder of what I want my life to look like. I don't want to have any regrets, and I want to be sure that I'm able to say that I did step out of my comfort zone and do something that I wasn't really expecting to do. I can safely say that ISM this year has been a journey, and it's really pushed me to reach out and to step out of my comfort zone and to learn more than I've ever expected. And so I dedicate this year not only to this quote by Alan Alda, but to growth as a person and as a professional. And I thank you all for listening.